When my brother told me I was being kicked out of our family home the day after our mother's funeral, I collapsed to my knees in shock. 3 days later, I was sleeping in my car while he threw a party in what should have been my house too. That's when I realized family ties are just pretty nooses waiting to tighten around your neck when you least expect it. If you're watching this, hit that subscribe button right now and tell me in the comments where you're from. Because trust me, this story is about to twist harder than a tornado in a trailer park, and you don't want to miss how I turn the tables on everyone who betrayed me. My name is Ella Blackwood, and until 2 weeks ago, I thought I knew what family meant. I still remember the smell of lilies at Mom's funeral, too sweet, almost suffocating, just like the fake sympathy on my brother Jack's face as he greeted mourners. I'd spent the last 8 months of my life taking care of our mother through her cancer battle, sleeping on a cot beside her hospital bed, holding her hand through chemo treatments while Jack was too busy with the family business to show up more than once a week. Yet there I was, the day after we buried her, standing in the family room with my suitcase already packed by Jack's wife Melanie. "The will is clear, Ella," Jack said, not even looking me in the eye as he straightened his Italian silk tie. "Dad left everything to me as the firstborn son. This house, the company, everything. You need to be out by tomorrow." "But Mom always said." "Mom didn't write the will, did she?" Jack cut me off. "Dad did. And he made his wishes clear. My father had passed 3 years earlier, but I'd always believed the family estate would be divided equally. My mother had promised me as much. But apparently, my father had other ideas. Ideas that Jack had kept hidden until the perfect moment. "You can't just throw me out," I said, my voice shaking. "I have nowhere to go." Jack finally looked at me, his eyes cold. "That sounds like a personal problem, sis. Maybe if you'd focused on building a career instead of playing nurse, you have your own place by now." Script part separator ===. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. Playing nurse? I'd put my entire life on hold to care for our dying mother while Jack was out expanding the family real estate business and buying vacation homes. "How dare you?" I whispered. "Mom would be ashamed of you." Jack's face hardened. "Mom's dead. And you've got 24 hours. I have investors coming to see the property next week, and I need you gone." "What investors?" "This is our family home," he corrected me. "And I'm converting it into luxury condos. The permits are already filed." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. The home we grew up in, where our parents had lived for 40 years, was going to be gutted and turned into overpriced apartments. "You're not just kicking me out," I realized aloud. "You're erasing our entire family history." Melanie appeared in the doorway, her blonde hair perfectly styled despite the fact we'd just buried my mother the day before. "Jack, the interior designer, is on the phone about the demolition schedule." The way she said demolition made my blood run cold. "I'll take it in Dad's office," Jack said, then turned back to me. "I expect you gone by this time tomorrow." I spent that night going through my belongings, deciding what would fit in my Honda Civic and what I'd have to leave behind. Family photos, Mom's recipe box, the quilt my grandmother had made. I couldn't take it all. The reality of my situation crashed down on me as I realized I had exactly $2,347 in my bank account and nowhere to go. By noon the next day, I was parked at a rest stop off Highway 16, scrolling through my phone for cheap motels while tears blurred my vision. That's when I got the text from my cousin Rachel. "OMG Ella, I'm so sorry about your mom. Just saw Jack's post about the big party at the house tonight. Didn't realize you guys would be celebrating so soon after." I stared at my phone in disbelief. A party? The day after kicking me out? I clicked on Jack's social media profile and there it was. An invitation to toast new beginnings at what he was already calling the Blackwood Development Project. Script part separator ===. Something snapped inside me. With shaking hands, I pulled up the navigation app on my phone and set the destination back to the house I'd been forced to leave. I don't know what I expected to do, confront Jack? Make a scene in front of his fancy friends? All I knew was that I couldn't just drive away while he celebrated erasing our family home. I parked down the street as caterers unloaded trays of food and staff set up a bar on our mother's prized rose garden patio. Mom had tended those roses for decades, often on her knees in the dirt until sunset. Now champagne would spill on them while strangers trampled what she loved. As I watched from my car, a familiar figure walked up the driveway. Harold Winters, our family attorney. The man who'd helped draft the will that had left me with nothing. My stomach knotted as I remembered how he'd patted my shoulder at the funeral, telling me to stay strong while knowing all along what was coming. I was about to start my car and leave when Harold glanced in my direction. Our eyes met through my windshield, and instead of looking away, he hesitated. Then, to my surprise, he changed course and walked directly toward me. "Ella," he said as I reluctantly rolled down my window. "I was hoping I might find you here. Come to make sure I'm properly homeless before the celebration starts?" I asked bitterly. Harold's weathered face creased with what looked like genuine concern. "May I sit down? There are things about your father's will that aren't as straightforward as Jack has presented them." My heart skipped a beat. "What are you talking about?" Harold glanced back at the house. "Not here. Meet me at my office tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. And Ella," he leaned closer, lowering his voice, "don't tell anyone about this conversation. Especially not your brother." Before I could ask more questions, Harold straightened up, adjusted his tie, and walked back toward the house where music had already started playing. I sat frozen, wondering what secrets our family lawyer was keeping and why he'd chosen now to reach out to me. That night, I used nearly a tenth of my savings on a cheap motel room. As I lay on the lumpy mattress staring at water stains on the ceiling, I made a decision. I wasn't going to just disappear like Jack wanted. If Harold knew something about the will, I was going to find out what it was and use it to fight back. Script part separator ===. I arrived at Harold's office the next morning 10 minutes early, clutching a coffee I couldn't afford but desperately needed after a night of fitful sleep. His receptionist barely looked up as I entered. "Mr. Winters is expecting you."
Go right in.
Harold's office hadn't changed in 20 years, leather-bound law books lining the walls, the same mahogany desk where my father had signed his will. The thought made my stomach clench. "Ella," Harold said, rising from his chair. "Thank you for coming. You said there was something I should know about my father's will." He gestured for me to sit, then closed the door and locked it. That's when I knew whatever he was about to tell me was serious. "What I'm about to share could cost me my license," he said, returning to his desk. "But I've known your family for 40 years, and I can't stay silent anymore." Harold opened his drawer and pulled out a thick manila envelope. "Your father came to see me 3 weeks before he died. He wanted to change his will." My heart pounded. "But Jack said." "Jack doesn't know about this." Harold slid the envelope across the desk. "Your father signed a new will, one that divided everything equally between you and your brother." I stared at the envelope, afraid to touch it. "Then why wasn't this the will that was executed?" Harold's face showed genuine remorse. "Because it disappeared from my files after your father died. I had the only copy and someone took it. I always suspected, but I couldn't prove anything." "Jack," I whispered. "Jack stole it." "I can't make that accusation," Harold said carefully. "But what I can tell you is that I kept copies of your father's notes about his intentions."
He tapped the envelope.
"And last night, watching Jack celebrate while the ink on your mother's death certificate is barely dry, I realized I've been a coward." I opened the envelope with trembling hands. Inside were handwritten notes from my father, outlining exactly how he wanted his estate divided, 50/50ths between Jack and me. "This isn't legally binding," Harold warned, "but it might be enough to challenge the will that was probated." "Why are you showing me this now?" I asked, suspicion suddenly flaring. "Why not right after Dad died?" Harold's eyes dropped.
"Because Jack threatened me."
He said he knew about some indiscretions in my past. Things that would ruin me professionally if they came to light. "He blackmailed you?" Harold nodded. "But I'm retiring next month. Moving to Arizona. Jack's threats don't scare me anymore." As I left Harold's office, clutching the envelope that could change everything, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Need to talk about Jack. Not safe on phone. Meet me at Riverside Cafe at 2 p.m. TD. Script part separator ===. I stared at the cryptic message. "TD, I racked my brain until it hit me. Thomas Daniels, my father's former business partner. They'd had a falling out years ago that my father never discussed. Why would he contact me now? Curiosity got the better of me. At 2 p.m. sharp, I walked into Riverside Cafe, scanning the tables until I spotted a gray-haired man in the corner booth. He'd aged since I'd last seen him, but his sharp eyes were unmistakable. "Ella," he said, standing as I approached. "You look like your mother." "Mr. Daniels." Your message was vague. He gestured for me to sit. "Call me Thomas." And yes, I had to be careful. Your brother has people everywhere these days. A waitress approached, but Thomas waved her away. "I won't waste your time. I know Jack kicked you out, and I know why." He leaned forward. "Your father and I didn't just have a disagreement. Jack sabotaged our partnership and convinced your father I was stealing from the company." "Why would Jack do that?" "Because I discovered something he didn't want known. Your family business was being used to launder money for the Castillo crime family." I nearly choked. "That's impossible." "I found proof," Thomas continued, sliding a flash drive across the table. "Transactions, offshore accounts, all linked to Jack's special projects division. Your father never knew. Jack kept him in the dark while making millions on the side. If this is true, why not go to the police? The Castillos have cops on payroll. I tried whistleblowing and nearly got killed for it. That's why I disappeared. Why come to me now?" Thomas's eyes hardened. "Because your mother contacted me before she died. Said Jack was pushing to control everything, that she was worried about you. She asked me to help if anything happened to her." The pieces were starting to fit together. Jack's sudden wealth, his desperation to control the family assets, the missing will. "Jack isn't just greedy," Thomas said grimly. "He's dangerous. And now that he controls everything, the laundering operation will expand. There's a major deal happening next week, over $50 million. If we can catch him in the act, we can stop him." My mind was reeling.
We?
I'm homeless and broke. What exactly am I supposed to do? Thomas smiled. "You're Richard Blackwood's daughter. You're smarter than Jack gives you credit for. And you have something he doesn't." "What's that?"
Me.
"And everything I know about his operation." Thomas checked his watch. "We don't have much time. Are you in?" Script part separator equals. I hesitated for only a moment. If what Thomas was saying was true, Jack wasn't just a greedy brother. He was a criminal who'd stolen my inheritance and was using our family name to work with organized crime. "I'm in," I said firmly. "What's the plan?" Thomas leaned forward. "Jack's hosting a fundraiser next Saturday at the Meridian Hotel. It's a cover. The real purpose is to finalize the money laundering deal with the Castillos. We need to get you inside."
Me?
"He'd never let me in the door." "He doesn't need to know you're coming," Thomas smiled. "I still have connections. I can get you on the catering staff. You'll be invisible, just another server in black and white." "And then what?" "You'll plant these," he said, pulling out what looked like 3 black buttons. "Microphones. One in the main ballroom, one in the meeting room where Jack takes his private meetings, and one in his suite upstairs where the real deal will happen." "Won't they sweep for bugs?" "These are special, developed by a friend at the NSA. They look like standard clothing buttons and don't register on standard security sweeps. They activate only when specific voices are detected." My head was spinning. This was like something out of a spy movie, not my real life. "And what happens after we get this recording?" Thomas's expression turned serious. "We take it to Judge Marion Reynolds. She's the only judge in this district the Castillos haven't bought. She can issue warrants that will freeze all of Jack's assets, including what he stole from you." It sounded almost too perfect.
Why are you helping me?
"What do you get out of this?" "Justice," Thomas said simply. "Your father was a good man who got deceived by his own son. And the chance to take down the Castillo family after what they did to me. I had 5 days to prepare for the biggest confrontation of my life, and so much could go wrong." But as I left the cafe with Thomas's flash drive and recording devices, I felt something I hadn't since Jack had kicked me out. Hope. Script part separator equals. That night in my motel room, I reviewed the files Thomas had given me. Spreadsheets, bank transfers, photos of Jack with men I didn't recognize but whose faces screamed danger. One name kept appearing: Victor Castillo, the family's heir apparent. In several photos, he and Jack were laughing together at charity events, golf courses, exclusive clubs. I barely slept, my mind racing with questions. Had my mother known about Jack's criminal connections? Is that why she'd reached out to Thomas before she died? And most troubling, had my father's death really been from natural causes, or had Jack accelerated his inheritance? The next morning, my phone rang with an unknown number.
Ella?
It was a woman's voice, vaguely familiar. Yes. Who is this? It's Melanie, Jack's wife. A pause. I need to see you. My blood ran cold. If Jack had somehow found out about my meetings with Harold or Thomas, why would I want to see you? I asked coldly. You helped pack my bags. Please, Ella. Not over the phone. Meet me at Lakeside Park in an hour, by the boat rental.
Come alone.
It's important. She hung up before I could argue. Every instinct told me this was a trap, but curiosity won out. I drove to the park, parking where I could make a quick escape if needed. As I approached the meeting spot, I saw Melanie sitting alone on a bench, sunglasses covering half her face despite the cloudy day. Thank you for coming, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Make it quick, Melanie. I have nothing to say to you. She removed her sunglasses, revealing a poorly concealed bruise around her left eye. I need your help, Ella. Jack isn't who you think he is. I already know about the Castillos, I said, watching her face carefully. Melanie's eyes widened in genuine shock. You know?
How?
That's not important.
What do you want from me?
She glanced around nervously. I want out. Jack's gotten violent since your mother died. He's paranoid, drinking too much. Last night, after I questioned him about selling your family home so quickly, she gestured to her bruised face. This happened. Why come to me? I'm the last person who can help you. Because you're the only one who isn't afraid of him, Melanie said, her voice breaking. And because I know where he keeps his secrets. Script part separator equals. My interest was piqued despite my suspicion. What secrets? Melanie leaned closer. There's a safe in the house. Behind the painting in your father's study. Jack doesn't know I found the combination. What's in it? Documents. Flash drives. And a second will. Your father's real will. My heart stopped. You've seen it? She nodded. He left everything split equally between you and Jack. But there's more. There are photos of Jack with Victor Castillo signing papers. And a life insurance policy on your mother for $5 million, with Jack as the sole beneficiary. Taken out 6 months before her diagnosis. The implication hit me like a physical blow. Are you saying Jack? I don't know for sure, Melanie whispered. But he made her switch doctors twice. And he had access to her medication. I felt sick. If what Melanie was suggesting was true, my brother hadn't just stolen my inheritance. He might have hastened our mother's death to get it. Why are you telling me this now? I asked, still suspicious. Because I'm pregnant, Ella. She placed a protective hand over her stomach. I need to get away from Jack before he finds out. I can help you expose him, but you have to help me disappear afterward. I studied her face, looking for deception but finding only fear. How do I know this isn't a trap? You don't, she admitted. But I'm out of options and so are you. Script part separator equals. As I weighed Melanie's offer, my phone buzzed with a text from Thomas. Don't trust anyone connected to Jack. Be careful. The timing was too perfect to be coincidence. Is someone tracking my phone? I demanded, showing Melanie the message. Her face paled. Jack has spyware on all our phones. That's how he controls everyone. I stood up abruptly. This conversation is over.
Wait.
She grabbed my arm. I can prove I'm telling the truth. She pulled out a folded paper from her purse. This is a copy of one page from your father's real will. I snapped a photo when Jack was showering. I unfolded it with trembling hands. There was my father's familiar signature and the clear statement, to be divided equally between my children, Jack and Ella Blackwood. The fundraiser on Saturday, Melanie whispered. Jack's keeping the original will in his hotel suite. I can get you the room number and key card. Why would he bring it there? Because after the deal with the Castillos, he's planning to destroy it permanently. Victor is bringing a document shredder as a gift. My mind raced. If I could get the original will during the event while also planting Thomas's bugs. If I help you, I said carefully, I need something else. The password to Jack's personal email. Melanie didn't hesitate. Black Emperor 2023.
Capital B and E.
How do you know it? I watched him type it. He thinks I'm too stupid to remember. I made my decision. There's a women's shelter in Riverview. Ask for Maria. Tell her Ella sent you. They'll keep you safe until after Saturday. Relief flooded her face.
Thank you.
As she walked away, I wondered if I'd just made a deal with another devil, or found an unexpected ally in my fight for justice. Script part separator equals. I had less than 72 hours to prepare for the most important night of my life. Thomas arranged my position with a catering company. I'd be working the VIP section, with direct access to Jack's private meeting rooms. Melanie sent me the hotel suite number and promised to leave a key card hidden in a service corridor. What still troubled me was Harold Winters. The family lawyer had gone suddenly quiet, not answering calls or emails. Had Jack gotten to him? Or worse? Friday night, I drove past our family home one last time. Construction equipment already sat in the driveway, ready to begin demolition next week. Mom's rose garden had been ripped out, replaced by a sign. Future home of Blackwood luxury residences. As I stared at the house where I'd grown up, my phone rang. A blocked number. Hello? Ella Blackwood? A deep, unfamiliar voice. Who's asking? Someone who knows what your brother did. Check your email. Before I could respond, the caller hung up. With shaking hands, I opened my email to find a message with no subject from an anonymous address. The attachment was a medical report, my mother's toxicology results from the hospital. Highlighted in yellow were elevated levels of arsenic, with a note from the lab, possible chronic poisoning. Recommend investigation. The report was dated 3 days before Mom died, but she'd been cremated the day after her death, on Jack's insistence. He'd claimed it was Mom's wish, though she'd always talked about being buried beside Dad. I felt physically ill. Jack hadn't just killed her. He'd been poisoning her slowly, making it look like her cancer was progressing faster than expected. All while I sat by her bedside, watching her suffer, never suspecting her own son was hastening her death. My grief transformed into something harder, colder. This wasn't just about my inheritance anymore. This was about justice for my mother. I forwarded the report to Thomas with a simple message. Whatever it takes. His response came minutes later. Be at hotel loading dock tomorrow, 3 p.m. Bring ID for Sarah Wilson. That's your cover name. Script part separator equals. The next morning, I stood in my rented server's uniform in front of the mirror of my motel bathroom. The woman staring back at me looked nothing like the Ella Blackwood who'd nursed her mother through cancer. This woman's eyes were hard, determined. I tucked the 3 recording devices into my pocket and headed out. At the hotel's service entrance, I presented my fake ID. My heart pounded as security checked their list, but Thomas's connections had come through. I was in. The pre-event briefing was quick. I'd be serving champagne in the VIP section where Jack would be entertaining his special guests. The server's schedule showed a reception at 6, dinner at 7, and private meetings scheduled for 9 p.m., exactly when Thomas said the real business would happen. As I arranged glasses on trays, I spotted Jack entering the ballroom with Victor Castillo. My brother looked confident, powerful, completely untroubled by the fact he'd stolen my inheritance and potentially murdered our mother. You there, new girl, the catering manager called. Take these champagne flutes to the Blue Suite immediately. The Blue Suite, where Jack would be meeting privately with Castillo. This was my chance to plant the first bug. My hands trembled as I carried the tray down the hallway. Outside the suite, I carefully attached one of the recording devices under the serving tray, disguised as a regular button. When I entered, Jack was already there, reviewing documents. "Just leave it," he said without looking up. As I set down the tray, I caught a glimpse of the paperwork, offshore account numbers, and transfer instructions. I forced myself to move slowly, professionally, fighting the urge to grab the documents and run. "Is there anything else you need, sir?" I asked, lowering my voice slightly. Jack finally glanced up, his eyes passing over me without recognition.
No.
"And make sure we're not disturbed for the next hour. Script parts separator equals. As I closed the door behind me, adrenaline coursed through my veins. The first bug was planted, and Jack hadn't recognized me. 1 down, 2 to go. I worked the main ballroom for the next hour, staying just out of Jack's line of sight while searching for the perfect moment to plant the second device. My opportunity came when a drunken investor spilled red wine on the tablecloth, creating a commotion. While everyone was distracted, I slipped the second bug under the head table where Jack would be sitting for dinner. At 8:30, I saw Melanie enter, wearing a stunning blue gown that concealed her pregnancy. Our eyes met briefly across the room, and she gave an almost imperceptible nod. The key card was in place. Jack's attention was fully focused on Victor Castillo and his associates. They laughed and clinked glasses, celebrating the deal that would launder millions while using my family's business as cover. I'd never seen my brother look so animated, so alive, not even at his own wedding. This was the real Jack, I realized. A man who'd found his true family in criminals. During dinner service, I heard Jack tell Victor, Suite 1422 at 9:30. "Bring the documents and the gift." The gift, the industrial shredder for destroying my father's real will. I had exactly 1 hour to get to Jack's suite, find the will, and plant the final bug before they arrived to finalize their deal. At 9:15, I slipped away from the ballroom and took the service elevator to the 14th floor. My heart pounded as I crept down the corridor to the maintenance closet where Melanie had promised to hide the key card. If she'd betrayed me, if this was a trap, but there it was, taped inside an empty soap box just as she described. I grabbed it and hurried to Suite 1422, praying no one would see me. Script parts separator equals. The key card worked. I slipped into Jack's suite, immediately spotting his briefcase beside the desk. With trembling hands, I clicked it open and there it was. My father's will, the real one, exactly as Melanie had described. I quickly used my phone to photograph every page, my heart racing with each passing second. As I was closing the briefcase, I heard voices in the hallway. Jack and Victor, coming early. I dove behind the heavy drapes just as the door opened. Through a tiny gap, I watched my brother stride in with Victor Castillo and 2 menacing bodyguards. "Everything's ready," Jack announced, pouring drinks. "Once we sign these transfer documents, the money moves offshore, then comes back clean through the Blackwood Foundation." "And the evidence?" Victor asked, nodding toward the briefcase. Jack smiled coldly. "After tonight, there won't be any evidence. I've got the will, the medical reports, everything that could connect me to any of it." "What about your sister?" Victor asked.
Ella?
Jack laughed. "She's living in some fleabag motel, broke and clueless. She's not a threat." If only he knew I was 15 feet away, recording every word, photographing every document that would destroy him. My hands shook as I planted the final bug under the desk while they examined papers on the other side of the room. "One last thing," Victor said, his voice turning serious. "Your mother's death, the doctor who signed off on it. Is he taken care of?" Jack nodded. "Permanent vacation in Mexico. He won't be talking to anyone." I had to clam my hand over my mouth to keep from gasping. Jack hadn't just poisoned our mother. He'd silenced the doctor who might have questioned her death. "One last thing," Jack said. "We need to accelerate the demolition of my family home. I want it gone by next week." Victor raised an eyebrow. "Such hurry?" "Too many ghosts," Jack muttered, throwing back his drink. "Besides, the sooner we break ground on the new development, the sooner we can move the big money through." I'd heard enough. I had the will photographed, the conversations recorded, and confirmation of what Jack had done. Now I just needed to escape unseen. As they leaned over the documents, I slowly edged toward the bathroom door, planning to hide there until they left. But just as I moved, my server's name tag caught on the curtain with a soft click. Jack's head snapped up.
What was that?
My heart stopped as Victor nodded to one of his bodyguards, who moved toward the window where I was hiding. In seconds, I'd be discovered. Then, like a miracle, Melanie's voice came from the hallway. Jack, are you in there? The mayor's asking for you downstairs. Jack cursed. Tell him I'll be right there. The bodyguard paused, looking to Victor for instructions.
Go, Victor said.
We'll finish this in 20 minutes. The documents aren't going anywhere. As Jack and his criminal partners filed out, I remained frozen behind the curtain, barely breathing until the door clicked shut. Then I moved faster than I ever had in my life, grabbing the original will and shoving it inside my uniform before slipping out of the suite.